Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Alana here, 3 Degrees of Love Divination. If you haven't been here before, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you very much. So, of course, we're gonna jump right in to continue my tarot tag that I recently created for the first time, and that is called Shadow Work, you say. And this video is going to actually include quite a few decks that I have gathered for this tag. Now the thing is, I think I said I was going to split this video in two, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. But just so you know, of course, if you decide you want to respond to this tag, you don't have to do as many decks as I'm doing. You're more than welcome to you know, sort of make that aspect your own. But of course, I guess being that it's my first tag and all, I'm super excited and anxious and all emotions just going off at the same time, really. So yeah, so I guess let's get into it. What I'm probably gonna do is what I wanted to say but forgot, is that a lot of the decks, I would say, just because of my personality and, you know, whatever, there's a lot of them are collections or sets, right? So if there are sets, I'm probably gonna do sets in one video, and then I'll probably just do like maybe the other standalones in another, something like that. Anyways, we'll see how I decide to organize it, but pretty much, like I said, if they're sets, they're gonna be together. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so I'll see you on the other side with a clear table. All right.
No matter what people want you to believe, don't ever turn back on your dreams. It's all in your hands, a change is near.
Now, I will tell you, I did try filming this earlier today, and kind of the way that it went was very haphazardly, and I didn't like it. So we're doing this again, and hopefully it goes better this time. I think, as I may have mentioned in my previous video for the tag, but it was the books edition, I was going to be splitting up the decks into two videos. Of course, if you decide that you want to respond to this tag, you don't have to do it the way that I did. Of course, you know, it's totally up to you if you want to just do decks, if you want to do books and decks, you know. And, you know, I didn't really put any sort of parameters around that, except, like I said, you know, the decks and the books part, and the fact that it's shadow work. But in regards to, you know, how many decks, how many books you want to include, you know, that's totally up to you. I just kind of went with the flow, as, you know, if you didn't see me talking or hear me talking about it previously when I did the books. But yeah, it was, you know, I was planning it and I wanted to do it, but I didn't know how to get started. And then finally I just was like, you know, as I was pulling the books, I just decided I'm going to go with it. And that's kind of the same way that all these decks sort of just, you know, came about too. But the one thing with the decks, though, is that I do have, as you'll see probably in the next video, not this one, I have some sets. And again, the way my brain works, and, you know, aesthetics and stuff like that. I like to work with multi-decks, and I do really enjoy when the aesthetics match, and as many, of course, in the tarot community enjoy that too, but I don't know, you'll see, as you'll learn my personality as we go along, but yeah, so we'll just get right in, and you know what, since it's pretty much the first deck that you see, it's, yes, the This Might Hurt Tarot, which actually goes really well with this tag, because after all, what is shadow work without diving into your pain? And after all, as Isabella Rotman says, this might hurt. So so the funny thing about this deck coming into my collection is that this is more of a recent addition, and the reason behind this is because, so initially when this deck first came out, I think a couple of years ago, of course this is the indie version of the deck, and when this deck first came out, I think it really, I think from what I've seen and heard, was it really did take, the tarot world by storm, because of the imagery and how more sort of modern day and diverse this deck was, or is actually, rather. And so with that, this became a fast, popular one, and I think even with the guidebook. Now, I haven't actually used this deck myself, and yet, and the only reason why, I think, as I was saying, why I got the deck in the first place was because the indie version is actually going out of print, because it's been picked up mass market by Liminal 11, as many of you will probably know, who are into tarot and stuff, and they're actually coming out with a special edition of this deck, and this special edition is supposed to have an exclusive Oracle deck that's supposed to go with it. So that's really exciting, and I've seen it online, and I'm really excited and really want it, and I think that's what initially pushed me to really get this deck, because like I said, I didn't have it before, and the one that I was using that is very similar and has a very similar feel, but at the time was a heck of a lot cheaper to get, because it had just released mass market, was also an indie version, and that's the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Ann. And yeah, and I just found that the cards were a little similar, and as I've dived into further tarot, that doesn't seem to matter so much anymore, but at the time, it was like, what's the point having the decks that look very similar, but even still, especially with the cards in my hand now as I'm flipping through it, and it's not to say I haven't seen this deck multiple times on other people's channels and and platforms and stuff, but it does have a different feel to it, and of course, given the name and given what I it's sort of my my field of work with social work and stuff like that. Look, this is definitely, as I expand my spiritual practice, this is definitely something that needs to be in my collection. So so thus is the This Might Hurt. And this is by Isabella Rotman, and like I said, it is coming at mass market by Liminal 11, and there will be a standard edition as well, but the difference between the standard and of course this limited edition, or sorry, indie version is that there's not going to be a gilding on the cards. So this came with 2 different gildings. One was this sort of pearl edge silvery one, and then the next one was a black sort of smoky holographic shadow kind of one. I think the indie I keep messing this two up. This is the indie version. I think the limited edition with Liminal 11, that one, I think when that one comes out, it's going to have, I think that one will have gilding. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% certain on that. But I want to say yes. And of course, this one, mine kind of came a little ding. And, you know, considering the kind of person that I am, that did bother me a little bit. But then I took comfort in the fact that, but nobody said it wouldn't hurt. So the deck, I mean, the dent has a special place for a meaning with this deck. So anyways, so that's this might hurt. I think just for aesthetic purposes, I'm gonna do the Aurum Lenormand, and this is by Melissa Wotherspoon. And she is also the creator of the Lonely Dreamer Tarot, which is not going to be in this part of the video, but will probably be in the next one just because it's a series. There's she also did she did the Roots Lenormand. She also has done the Oracle d'Or. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, it's the companion sort of oracle to the Lonely Dreamer, which is a curated art deck that is Woodlyn Radleigh, French painter, artist, and well, I'll explain about that you know in that video. But anyway, so back to the Lenormand, and the thing with this one, the story behind this is Son and I completed this deck together as I waited for my Low Rider Dachshund Tarot to finish its print run. When a project is out of your hands, you put something else in your hands. And it's funny because I've heard as I've been following deck creators and stuff, I've heard that a lot, that's been said. We hope that this deck becomes a helpful go-to for you and a mainstay in your toolbox. I have always been fascinated by the centuries-old Japanese practice of repairing pottery with gold, known as kintsugi. Now, I should really look this up to pronounce this. I'm probably butchering that to God knows. But anyway, repairing something and rendering it even more beautiful with its embedded story was something I wanted to embody in this deck. The person in this deck is based on the friend who, Amy, who is an ally and a member of the LGBTQ plus community. So the child in this deck is actually Amy's son, Emmett. And I guess both of them suffer from Marfan syndrome, which is a rare condition that affects connective tissue. And so the connection between the Japanese art of pottery and the connection with Melissa's friend Amy and their son is you know, is a very sort of bittersweet artistic connection, spiritual connection, you know, that I find very beautiful, especially with even doing the idea of shadow work, because as we dive into our shadow and we take a look at the trauma and the broken pieces in our lives, and we do the work to process them and heal them, that's essentially what we're doing here. And you know, and so it's not even just the fact that the story, like the origins of this deck, the story behind that and the dedication, but also just the meaning for the work, and you know, and also the meaning the personal connection it has for me, in the sense of when I found this deck, and you know, and you know, the stage of where I've been, you know, in my life right now, and my spiritual development and practice, and how everything evolves. So now I don't read Lenormand, you know, in the traditional sense. I will one day, you know, of course, you know, be wanting to do that, but I like the simplicity of Lenormand with the cards, and so I tend to just sort of read it as a regular oracle deck, you know, more so, but yeah, so just beautiful, aesthetically speaking. So anyway, so that's the Aurum Lenormand by Melissa Wotherspoon. Okay, so next we have the Endless Oracle, and this is a recent addition to my collection. This was a Kickstarter, and actually I came across this deck on Don Michelle Tarot's channel, previously Boho Tarot, and she was showing this deck that Eric Maille created so beautifully. And so why I chose this deck too, and I really like it for shadow work. Of course, I just received it, so and there's a story behind that one too. So I guess my postal code was missing, so it kind of got looped in an endless loop when it reached my city, you know, for about 2 weeks. So why I really like this deck for and I say for shadow work and just the meaning is, besides the coloring, with the blue, the white, and you know, sort of the darkened color scheme of this deck, it reminds me of, well, other than of course, you know, the way the weather has been in the last, you know, several days where I am in Toronto, but or probably, actually no, probably since the new year. Since the start of the new year. Anyways, it's been quite bleh. But not to say the art is blah. Don't get me wrong. This art is beautiful, but the dreariness of it is, and the journey, and the fact that, I don't know, just something about the aesthetic and the art. It's like a travel in the darkness, but I feel like it's the part of the journey where you are kind of, you know, like when you after midnight, and it's like, you know, in the wee hours of the morning, and it's starting to get a little bit lighter out, and you're starting to see the light break, and stuff. That's what I feel like these cards sort of remind me of. It's like almost like the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, when you're reaching your destination, your transformation, your, you know, that life ends journey, right? And so anyway, that's why I really fell in love with the deck and wanted it, and that's funny because I love the box, and you know, and stuff. And I remember making a joke on Instagram on the post when I finally got my deck, was that I noticed that there's quite a bit of space in the box. So I remember thinking that maybe there may be an expansion pack to this deck at some point, possibly. Oh, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, so that's the Endless Oracle by Eric Maille, and I really like that for that reason. Okay. So I want to talk about are the CBT deck and the DBT deck. So these are very much, you know, sort of clinical studies, social work, and, you know, therapy and psychology and stuff like that, education. This is a lot of some training decks that, therapy decks, I should say. They're based off therapy practices that, you know, that usually licensed therapists, professionals will, you know, usually go through with their clients. And so this is, you know, so this is the practice sort of broken up into card form, and, you know, it comes with instructions on, you know, how to use it. And why I put this in the actually how I came across this deck, rather, let me start with that first, is from the beautiful Katie Flowers. She still, I believe, has her channel, but she's no longer creating videos. She does post from time to time on Instagram, and I would say she was one of the earlier people that I started watching on YouTube. You know, as I started, you know, diving into spiritual practice, and, you know, and I think, you know, too, she had a love for, you know, cards and books, and so I really connected with her that way, you know. So, and yeah, so I learned about these cards from her, actually, and I've actually since then learned about a lot more sort of that I didn't realize connected even to my, you know, my professional experience and practice. There are other sort of cards that are now coming out that are, you know, along those same lines, and that's something I could show you, you know, in a later video. Possibly. I can't. Don't know. Oops, sorry, I think I hit the camera, but I can't put those back in the box right now, so we'll just leave those. But anyways, yeah, so I will definitely, you know, post and link Dawn Michelle's channel and Katie Flowers' channel, and, you know, anybody's channel that, you know, or anybody that I, you know, reference or talk about. Everything will always, you know, be in the description box. And of course, if there, you know, if something's missing, or you're, you know, as I am only human, and you have any questions, by all means, you know, just shoot me a message, you know, in the description, you know, in the comments, you know, or even contact me by email. Not a problem. So anyway, so that's CBT. And as I was saying, I'm not going to get into explaining the different, like I said, they are, you know, therapy-based practices often used with licensed therapists, you know, psychologists, and and so on and so forth. So these are, you know, this is the DBT. So I showed you the CBT. This is what they look like. Again, you know, just the practice put in card form. And why I would put this in this, of course, in this category is because, you know, we're talking about mental health, and you know, how I connect, you know, spirituality and, you know, mental illness, and, you know, dealing with addiction and dealing with, you know, these various things, anxiety and depression and stuff like that, you know, mindfulness. And, you know, I think I mentioned, you know, that I am OCD. So, you know, all of these practices are things that I'm familiar with, not only for my, you know, for my healing and my growth and, you know, and mental wellness, but also things I'm familiar with, you know, because of, you know, my professional education and experience, right? So, yeah, and because of that, you know, these are things, you know, that are, you know, like OCD is you know, is a condition. Anxiety and depression are all, you know, sort of conditions that usually come about either because there's a history of it, you know, familiar history, or, you know, given life circumstances, and, you know, people develop, you know, unhealthy habits and ways to cope, you know, and just, you know, and trauma responses and all of that stuff, right? These are, like I said, some of the things. And if I'm connecting my professional practice and spiritual, you know, connections and experience and, you know, all that jazz, then yes, this is definitely something I would say goes right into the, you know, shadow work category. So yeah, so there's those two. I want to talk about okay, so as I mentioned, you know, me being a Christian, you know, that's my family background, you know, religious background and stuff like that. Something, you know, that a deck that I hold value to help me connect, you know, to keep connected to that aspect is the Angel Wisdom Tarot. And this one, because of its earthiness sort of feel, this is actually a newer release, done by Radleigh Valentine. And for those of you in, you know, in this community, in the tarot community and stuff like that, and divination, know that Radleigh Valentine did a lot of work with Doreen Virtue in the past. And Doreen Virtue used to make a lot of cards at, you know, for divination, a lot of, you know, sort of angel based cards and stuff like that. But for some reason, I don't know the full story, I'm not really going to get into it, but she left it to abruptly, I believe, and went stone cold into Christianity again. And, you know, and so okay, but anyway, this is all along, you know, and I've heard and have known of Doreen Virtue for years. Even, you know, when I was in the Christian bookstore, there are books and stuff that she wrote that we used to carry. So it's funny, I didn't even know that she made cards at that time. I later learned about that later, when I guess this, you know, when we kind of seemed to do a switcheroo, sort of, in a way. Not really, kind of, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, so that's so Radleigh Valentine, and I do like this one with the simplicity of the cards, the message that is underneath, really good for, you know, like beginners and stuff. So yeah, okay, so That's angel wisdom. You know, especially, like I said, you know, diving into shadow work, it's not for the faint of heart. And, you know, I like the idea to hang on to that aspect of spirituality as a means of grounding. And so the next one that I have that's also, you know, pretty much along the same lines is the Influence of the Angels tarot deck. And this is by Jody, Boginski, Barbessi, and this is like an art, historical art deck. Very much angel based, and, you know, connected to, you know, that idea. It's funny that, you know, Christians historically believe that, you know, tarot and that form of divination is bad and whatnot, but yet many don't seem to realize that historically in tarot there are a lot of you know, sort of Christian-based references that they don't seem to realize. But anyways, so this, I really like this deck because, again, it's the idea of, you know, connecting it to you know, my heritage and religious upbringing. So it has minor arcana suit meanings, and it has the number meanings, extra cards. The guidebook is actually pretty chunky and very descriptive. So it's got the shadow meaning, it's got an angelic message, and like an upright meaning, so the direct message for each card, and sort of a historical reference to the art, and a description of, you know, what's happening in each card. So I really do like that for that reason. And, you know, all the angels, it just really, really reminds me of, especially the Roman Catholic aspect background. So I really like that. And yeah, so those cards. And this is published by US Games. So this is definitely, you know, a mass market deck. So also by US Games Systems is the New Era Elements Tarot, and this one is by Eleonore F. Pieper. And when I saw this, and I got it, I just think it's stunning and very heart-wrenching and provoking, very shadowy in that respect. But the reason also too why I really like this is because I connected with the artwork right away, and also something about the depictions. It is, the reference is pretty much RWS. For those of you that know, you know, Rider-Waite-Smith, but it's modernized, and I feel is very relevant to how things are going in the world, you know, right now. So, you know, and of course the aesthetic being very gray, black and white, you know, it's very shadowy. So, you know, the idea that that's how we enter the world, right? As the Fool, we're, you know, brand new. High Priestess. The Hierophant. Yeah, very shadowy aesthetic. And I like the diversity because so we have in each of the suits, with the core cards, they're actually different cultures. So I think so Earth is more of a Caucasian. We have, hold on, let's see, where's the other set of core cards? Okay, wait, hold on. We have Asian. We have, hold on. We have what I believe is native. And we have, there we go. And we have African as the representations of each of the suits. So the four elements are represented by 4 different cultures. And yeah. So, again, that's why I also see it as being very fitting to, relevant worldly issues, and why I really like that for shadow work. And, and as I had talked about in previous videos, I talk about, sort of the different elements of love, from self to relationships to outwards to the world, right? And so that's, so if you're doing shadow work, essentially, this is a great deck for that. And how we relate, worldly to other people. So anyways, and that's definitely a book I would definitely pair with boundaries and safe people and all of that. So yeah, so that's the New Era Elements. Tarot. Okay, so the next one, and this one actually, not really a set per se, but a same creator, and she does have another deck that's, I think she's working on right now. I can't remember the name of it, but if I will look it up and definitely put it, in the description box or even in somewhere on the screen for you to see. But and she has some other decks, or she even has another one. I think it's a magical deck. I can't remember the name of it, but again, I'll put it up on the screen. And that would be another one that would be great for shadow work, but I don't have that one. But anyways, so but Gillian C. Wilde is such a beautiful creator. This is her Mystic Woodlands playing card deck, Tarot Infused playing card deck that she recently came out with. And you know, it's basically the idea that she, I guess, inspired her to, you know, to come with, to create this deck, was the idea of connectivity and family, and you know, the historicalness of playing cards, and you know, and for me, the connection with playing cards is that historically that's something I grew up with, always playing cards with, you know, my mom, you know, family, friends, you know, so part of, you know, of my life, you know, playing cards specifically, not so much the divination aspect, but you know, of it, but you know, until of course, you know, later on in my adult years, more recently. But yeah, so this deck has been set with the healing intention of providing connection and joy. Have fun playing your favorite card games with your favorite people and connecting to spiritual messages that help support your journey. I'm glad we found each other. Much love, Jillian. Very sweet. And so of course, you know, it comes with the story behind, you know, the making, I guess, of this deck. I haven't actually used this deck yet. So traditional how to use the deck, you know, and then the keys for for each suit, in regards to the meanings for the cards, and you know, a typical playing card deck, but some very beautiful face cards, pips, you know, very, very beautiful. So very earthy, you know, very same aesthetic as her tarot deck, which I will show you shortly. You know, and our jokers right there. So yeah, this gorgeous deck, and I, you know, can't wait to use it with. I've had the Naked Heart tarot, which I'm about to show you, you know, for a while, and I've been using it, and you know, so this is her tarot deck, Jillian, and did I say already she's a Canadian artist? If I haven't, I'm saying it now. I don't remember. I think I said it. I can't remember. Oh jeez. But anyways, you know, just beautiful soul of, you know, when she posts on Instagram, you know, her short videos and stuff. You know, such a sweet soul. So anyways, yeah, so this deck comes with a very chunky guidebook. So beautiful box. Why I like the guidebook is it's got and I have a thing for astrology too, and it's got the astrological symbols, it's got a Naked Heart message, it's got even crystal recommendations, and journaling prompts, and a little bit of affirmations. You do have your glossary, like it's a very well thought out guidebook, and I really, honestly, I love a good guidebook. I definitely feel like, even though I've, you know, since I've been using tarot cards, and I've, you know, I'm a pretty fast learner, and I've, you know, been able to, you know, understand the meanings of the cards, I still very much like a guidebook, because And I guess that's the whole idea too, where, you know, I like to work with books and the decks and, you know, a whole bunch of different elements and you know, sort of together for my spiritual practice. But I feel like that's how I connect with the creator's, you know, creativity, and how it creates a bit of a deeper connection and understanding, if you will, for me, because I get to see their perspective. I mean, yes, I like being able to interpret things for myself as well, but when I can also see and relate to the other person, like, I feel like that's a heightened level of empathy, if you will, understanding, just connectivity, you know, and you know, so I don't know how else to explain that, but basically, yeah, you know, like that's for me, that's, you know, that's what it's all about, and sort of reflecting. And, you know, why I also really like this deck is the fact that, okay, so there's also, I guess, a crystal grid here, and there is instructions on how to work with a crystal grid in the guidebook. Jillian did, so there's that comes with that too. But besides the title, I mean, Naked Heart, it's Naked Heart Tarot, right? We're diving into the depths of our pain. The most vulnerable you can possibly be is at the very, you know, heart of ourselves. And the thing that, you know, often, you know, when we talk about shadow work and stuff, you know, and trauma and healing and you know, if we don't take the opportunity to face our shadows, and we either run from them, we put band-aids over them, we, you know, just our way to cope and then block out the world, so to speak, it gets very cold. And, you know, and in my journey thus far, you know, in this life, and what I've observed is that the more pain we endure, the colder it gets. And the colder it gets, the more pain there is, and the more suffering there is. And it's just this continuous cycle that just continues. And it breaks my heart to see where humanity is at right now, which is, you know, why in the first place, you know, shadow work is so important. You know, and why, you know, why we do this in the first place. This whole, the connection of you know, understanding, you know, the vulnerability, the naked heart, diving into, you know, into the parts that we've keep hidden and left in the darkness for so long, you know, and afraid to face, you know, both. Just, man, I can go on, but anyways, this is such a beautiful deck. And even the story, I love stories, I love history, I love understanding, and the creative story behind this deck, to mine, and you know, in the guidebook, is that, and even from what Jillian has talked about, you know, in interviews that I've seen of her on, you know, YouTube and such, is that this deck was created out of tragedy that she experienced. And it was in creating this deck that brought her healing. And so of course, me coming across this deck now in a similar but obviously way different, heartache, pain, tragedy sort of story, it holds some deep meaning, and has, as I connect to all aspects, spirituality and dealing mental health and all of that, it's definitely has been a very important tool on that journey. So yeah, The Naked Heart Tarot and the Mystic Woodlands by Jillian C. Wilde. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you playing card decks. And again, because like I said, I've had a love for playing cards, and I've had that all my life, and I've been collecting playing card decks, sorry. Anyways, and so this one I really like. I mean, come on. We're talking about a hashtag, and we're talking about shadow work. So what better than a playing card deck that is titled Shadows? And on top of that, this deck holds significant mental health, awareness, depression, meaning, because this is actually a deck created to bring awareness to those who are affected by depression. Know that there is always someone there to listen. And there's the national hotline on these cards. And for those of you who know, great. For those of you who don't, the semicolon represents is a symbol for mental health awareness, and symbolizes, the trauma and our journey, and our story isn't written. Our pain does not define our story. And that's only half of our journey. And so the semicolon is to basically represent that. It's not a period, it's not a full stop. It's a continuation. And the healing, the idea of healing, that's the continuation. That's how we complete ourselves, is by healing. So anyway, why not, right? A better playing card deck. So there's two of those same jokers, and it's ordinary playing card deck with a little bit of shadowy flair, if you will. Right? There's smudging on the deck in different spots of the pips, and the court cards are real people, and these are what the hearts look like. The other ones, the diamonds. Yeah. So that's that. So that is Shadows playing cards. I will link where I got these, of course, down below. And next I've got Yes I Do. And on the back it says I love you. So actually this particular, now I have a thing for pairs and stuff, but I didn't end up getting the pair to this because I actually have another playing card deck that's love related, so in this case I didn't see the point, although now thinking about it and talking to you about it, yeah, probably gonna end up in my collection. But anyways, whatever. So the idea is that there's a white and there's a black, and the white edition of this deck is the opposite half of the heart. So when you put them together, they do make the heart. Yeah, but anyways. So yes, I do. I can't remember the other side, if it's exact same or not. But anyways. So there is a quote on the back. I love you. True love's the gift which God has given man alone, beneath the heaven. Sir Walter Scott. And I think there is a caption. Oh, okay, it just says United States Playing Card Company, writer back. Okay, that. And so, and the jokers are love, and just on title and advertisement card, those are your jokers, and these are what these cards look like. Yeah, typical playing cards, but with, like I said, an added flair than the ordinary, and very much in the theme and aesthetic of love. And as you talk about love, there's the light and there's the shadows, right? And so as we talk about shadows, there you go. All right. Okay, so the next deck that I have that is actually recent addition, and this is actually how this came about is I won a giveaway on Instagram, and this is by the lovely Serpent Fire, Devanye. What's Devanye Wolf, which I remember her middle name. Anyway, she's the creator of Serpent Fire Production. She's the creator of the She-Wolf and the Serpent Fire Tarot. Both of them very, very gorgeous. And why I would put this in the shadow section is because this deck is actually an oracle deck for nervous system health in a time when it is needed most. And when do we need things like that? Well, of course, when we need healing, right? So and and what I've been through, I think, is, and sort of what I physically go through is a symptom of, everything that I've, all the trauma and everything that I've gone through. I strongly believe that it's, nervous system, something is off, and is misfiring mentally speaking, neurologically speaking, that's the word. So anyway, but of course, I'm not the doctor. That's something I would have to obviously, go back and look into and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so in the meantime, as, I do my spiritual work and therapy and everything and, shadow work, Your Wise Animal Body. So this is a new deck. I have not used it yet, but I put it in here because as I flip through it and I see, it does talk about trauma and in the guidebook and and usually things that will throw off our nervous system, is typically trauma, right? So and I think there's some decks that are, from what I saw, that represent chakras, and then we have one keywords here. So yeah, so I'm excited to work with this deck. Oh look, shadow card. Yeah, so and this one came with a journal as well. I did, I believe, mention it in my previous video. So the book section of this tag. Yeah, so that's exciting. And I can't wait to begin working with this deck. So, alright, so this is the Your Wise Animal Body by Serpent Fire. And, okay, so the next deck that I want to talk about is another recent, recently received deck to my collection, and this is the Emotional Kaleidoscope deck. And this one is another really great one because especially for this kind of work, and sort of ties into the whole idea of therapy, and spirituality and all of that good stuff, sort of mashed up and together is this, and even just the way it's beautifully presented here, and it's funny because I think in psychology for a long time images have been used as a form of provoking thought, and when it comes to sort of identifying trauma and various things of people's past and history and understanding behavior and all that, right? So it's pretty much where we're at in regards to the spiritual community and sort of working with tarot and using these tools. It's really not at all that far-fetched from practices that has been done in therapy and psychology and all this kind of stuff for quite some time. So yeah, so anyway, so back to the Emotional Kaleidoscope. And I will definitely be putting, the information in the description box. So this is definitely a deck very much designed for self-reflection, introspection, journaling, and I would say is very much a tool, much like very much like the Reclaim Oracle, and other decks that actually will be that I will discuss, you know, a little later in the next video, because it's part of Seth's. But, you know, yeah, and I think, you know, these would go very hand in hand, and actually sort of based on the aesthetic of the box and just, you know, the design of the cards. Like, I mean, oops, let me just move this over here. Right? Like, this might hurt with emotional kaleidoscope. Hello. Like, talk about like power dynamic. Like, hello. Naked Heart. This might hurt. Emotional kaleidoscope. New era. New air elements. The Aurum Lenormand. Like, the aesthetic alone. Like, yeah. So anyways, now said. But back to emotional kaleidoscope. Oops. So it comes with, of course, this is the business card. Or a business card. I don't remember. No. So the woman that, or the creator for this deck that I've been in touch with, is actually Ruth. And Ruth Modo. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. But yes, and very wonderful soul. We've been communicating back and forth, and you know, we've sort of really, you know, through correspondence have really sort of hit it off in that sense. And so, okay, so Stephanie, whose business card this is, so it's 3 creators. The deck creator is Ruth. In regards to the conscious aspect of the deck, that was done by Stephanie Zagorski, and the person who created the pre-conscious is Michael Watchter. Oh gosh, I really hope I'm not, you know, butchering that. And of course, and then the subconscious section is done by Giovanni. So, Giovanni de Benetto, I think. Oh, I'm so hot. Please forgive me. Anyways, for the mispronunciation of your name. But this, so of course when I saw this deck, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. Like, this is like right up my alley. Like, are you kidding? So of course I haven't used this deck yet either. Still new for me, and into my collection, but definitely something, you know, I definitely want to work with. So, you know, as we saw, the deck is broken up into 4 categories, I think. So, you know, and so essentially images to interpret, and then on the back are very much prompts, right, for journaling and stuff. So I'll just go through a couple of cards. I'm not going to do like a full walkthrough or anything, but, you know, if that's something you would like to see, sure, you know, drop me a line in the comments, and I will you know, by all means, be open to doing that. So describe your personality in 3 words, right? Explain what your first thoughts were after waking up this morning, right? So the idea is it's about getting to know yourself better at every level of consciousness, right? You know, and to me, that's so up the alley of shadow work. Like it's all about getting to know yourself, about bringing to light the parts of yourself that you know, maybe you've either kept hidden, you haven't fully explored, you know, maybe you're not even at all conscious of or about, right? But just all around, you know, looking at making us better functioning people. So here's one of the, I guess this must be the subconscious. What is one major thing you learned about the person / persons you experienced this with? Final remarks for all participants. Would your younger self be proud of the person you have become today? This is so right in and aligned with the work that I'm doing in therapy, you know, and just, you know, getting to know, like I said, getting to know the parts of ourselves that, you know, maybe we aren't aware of, that we've either hidden from ourselves or others. You know, this is exactly what shadow work is all about. You know, and that's why this deck is so meaningful to have in my collection, and just, you know, in regards to representing me, the work I do, the work that I've dedicated my life to professionally, just, you know, where I see myself moving forward in, you know, in my profession again, and you know, and building my own practice, you know, not only just personally, but professionally. And I'm just so grateful for, you know, for the minds that have come up with this and have been able to combine, just all these aspects and interests that I have to make such a wonderful, thought-provoking tool for self-improvement. Like I'm blown away by the talent and the, like I said, the creativity, just great minds, and I really enjoy, you know, sharing that and highlighting that and giving, you know, gratitude for that. So yeah, this is another great deck, and I think I might want to definitely probably do maybe a walkthrough and, you know, play with it, maybe even on camera a little bit more with, you know, some other decks that I think would be fantastic to pair with. So yeah, and that's Emotional Kaleidoscope. And yeah, so that's exciting. Right? I mean, come on. You can't tell me that's not beautiful. All right, so last but not least in this section of the video, or actually rather in this video, because like I said, I will most likely be doing a part 2 for sure of the deck, of this tag, and it will be the sort of the decks that actually I'm currently working with and doing shadow work with right now for myself, as well as decks that are actually sort of part of a collection, if you will, and that aesthetically pleases me and excites me, and you know, it gives you a sense of my nerdiness a little bit more, my personality, and see how I, you know, like to bond with my decks and stuff. So anyways, yeah. Okay, so the last deck that I wanted to show you for this tag is actually so it's called the Lunar Nomad Oracle, and this is by Shaheen Miro. And so 43 cards to unlock your creativity and awaken your intuition. And of course, Lunar Nomad. And it's funny because actually this deck, even though it's an oracle, it's called that. It's actually, you know, it actually doubles as a Lenormand deck. Much like the Aurum Lenormand by Melissa Witherspoon that I was talking about. But of course this one, so as I said, I don't read Lenormand in the typical way, or in the traditional sense, rather because, well, I haven't learned that system yet, for one thing, and so but I do like, you know, the simplicity and straightforwardness of the cards. So because of that, I still will use it and sort of work with it like just a regular oracle deck, more or less. So essentially, this is what this deck is, but is more so of an oracle because of the additional cards and the extensive guidebook that it comes with for each card, and it's really in depth. So I really like that, and you know, of course, you know, this is essentially, you know, shadow work here we're looking at, you know. So it comes in this, so it comes in like this hard sort of sleeve, and that holds the guidebook and the cards, but the cards then come in this additional, this paper box. Oh, this one is this by US Games too? I think so. Is it? I don't remember now. No. Wiser Books. Okay, so it's by Wiser Books, not anyway. So yeah, so of course this also is more so of an oracle because you couldn't really use this traditionally. I mean, you can as an oracle the way that I said that I read, right? And that's why I really like this. But these cards are really huge. So, you know, if for those of you who know Lenormand, and, you know, working with it, there's what they call the Grand Tableau, and, you know, essentially that's spreading out all the cards across the table. So these wouldn't be ideal for that because, I mean, they're ginormous. You need a ginormous table. But I really like the aesthetic, you know, sort of very historical, vintage kind of look to it. And the kind of reminds me of the Lonely Dreamer tarot by Melissa Witherspoon. And when I, you know, in the next video, when I show you my sets, you'll definitely see that there. The sort of the similarities in the artwork ish, kind of. It's more collagey. Well, actually, they're both kind of artsy collagey, but anyways, you get it. You'll get it. So yeah. So this is, yeah, and this is so far what I have to show you for all the shadow work decks that I would pull to work with. Yeah. So yeah, so of course, if you like my video, you know, hit that like button. Please share and subscribe. Comment down below. Tell me, you know, what are some of the decks that you work with that you liked. You want to hear me talk about it further? I don't know. You know, maybe there's some decks that you know, would also want to, you know, that share that, you know, either you use or that even, you know, maybe there are some decks that you didn't even think about that, you know, you liked too. So yeah, you know, let me know what you think, and please, I would definitely like to see if you have a response, video response, and if you do, please don't forget to use the hashtag ShadowWorkUSay or ShadowWorkUSay decks for this one. All right, so until I see you again, live, listen, and learn. Love you. Bye.
Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. Gotta love, gotta love, gotta love one another. No matter what people want.